All right, I'm officially closing the meeting now and saying what a wonderful time we had, and we had some great visitors coming and joining us, and uh, and they made it very enjoyable. And at this time, I want to hand the meeting over to the Toastmaster, Sherry Holt.
Welcome to our backwards meeting. And to start us off, we will have our grammarians report. Wonder what we can say backwards next. Grammarian, tell us.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Well, Bert just said and he's going to say about 2 more times throughout the meeting. Rebecca, our speakers are going to say and so about 2 times during their speeches, and the false start during their speeches. And that's the Grammarian report for this evening. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Best you do. See if that's not backwards. If we think like Yoda, then we will speak backwards, I feel sure. A timer? Who keeps time? However, we most of the time do not have good times all the time. So for tonight, our timer for a speech, instead of 5 to 7 minutes, it's a backwards meeting. So they'll do 7 to 5 or below. That's what will happen. Our next is our evaluator, and it will be our distinguished area director, Curt Mencer.
Okay, so I can start with the general evaluator's report. I was surprised. I was very surprised. I expected to come into this meeting and be totally confused. But suddenly I discovered that meetings like this sort of run the way my brain works. And all of a sudden, I felt like I was at home. And all the people surrounding me pretended that I was at home and didn't criticize me for being who I was instead of who I thought I was. Throughout the meeting, people tried to say things that were important and focused. And unfortunately, they weren't that important, and they absolutely weren't focused, just like the comments I'm making now. So let me turn it over to evaluator number 1, who's going to evaluate whoever speaker number 1 was. Let's go with that.
For our speaker, it is Rebecca. And with Rebecca's speech, it will be an educational, and we will learn something from her speech. She will probably not look at the camera the whole time, and she will and has had some grammatical errors, and she will know when she's done them, like always. She has a background for her speech and for the Zoom meeting, and that's a very good thing. And she will appear at first, even though a very good speaker, she'll be shy. However, it's backwards. She could be absolutely perfect and we not know. Who knows? However, today is a palindrome, so we will always remember Rebecca's speech. It only happens once in a lifetime. Rebecca, good job.
And that would be me, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Bert. What a shame. I really thought you were a pretty good speaker. And I think you know you're a pretty good speaker. Because of this backward thing, you decided to not be such a good speaker. Really, really disappointing, because I really like you when you're a good speaker, but when you're kind of messing around, it's a little boring. But it was statistically correct. It was well modulated, even though it was sort of like the output from a dozen cow. Never mind. It was really, really not that interesting, to tell you the truth. The other 4 or 5 people in the room kind of fell asleep in the middle. And of course, that was because you were humming. And I guess that makes you a hummingbird. But we'll allow for that because you tried. And what's important is when you fail, you try. Mr. General Evaluator, thank you, Evaluator number 2. And now back to Madam Toastmaster.
Table topics? Sounds like a plan to me. Welcome to our past district director, Stacci Thomas. Stacci, what do you have fun for us?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. This should be an interesting session. I've never done a backwards meeting before, so let's see what we can do. Let's see. Curt, as table topic speaker number 3, will you answer the question?
Do I have to?
It's your question.
Oh, okay.
Tell me what
Yeah, sure.
and I'll tell you what the question is.
All right. Here's the answer. I really don't know, but I do know that there are people who believe that stuff and act on it. And sometimes that's really, really, really frightening. I can't imagine what they're doing, but they're doing it with aplomb.
Interesting. Okay, so your question was, how do you make eggs Benedict? So that was a very good answer. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, who is our second table topic speaker for the evening? Andrew, is that you? What's the answer? And I'll tell you the question.
I don't know the answer, but I do the question, but the answer is the leadership is a very good and more leading into others. As a simpler, I can say that I have led my patrol very well and my troop very nicely.
Interesting. So the question was, if you were to join Starfleet, what would you be? So you've answered that one. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Sherry, as our first table topic speaker, what was the answer to your question?
I'm having to put my brain on backwards. And by doing that, it allows me to be able to say, I enjoy varied topics. It allows me to be able to expand upon knowledge or gain from, I have no idea. Therefore, that's what the answer to this question is. I'm not real sure what my table topics master is asking for right now. However, my answer will be, let's just have fun with whatever question and whatever answer we have. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Sherry. And the question was, you like to play Trivial Pursuit, and if so, why? So very good answer. Thank you to all of our table topic speakers tonight. And Mr. Timer, could you now give us the timing rules for a table topic? I will now turn it back over to the Toastmaster for the evening, Gary Holt.
And our speaker for the evening is Bert Copeland. His speech is from Inspire Your Audience. Let's see what inspiration that he can give us for the evening. Bert.
Will you try writing your speech backwards? I want to talk to you about 3 things tonight. The first thing I want to talk to you about in your speech is your CTA. Your call to action. What is the point of your speech? The whole point of your speech is your call to action. This is where you should start your speech because it's what you want your listeners to do or feel. To me, that is the whole way that I do speeches now. I start from this premise right here, the call to action, and I scratch my head and then I go, what's next? Well, what's next is number 3. Number three is part of the body of your speech. And I'm only going to talk about 3 parts of your speech tonight. Although there are many ways to do a speech, this is the backwards way that I do my speech. So part 3 of your speech is what I call a shared emotion. Now, I've heard speakers get up and they tell me how wonderful they are and they say how many great things they've done, but that doesn't mean anything to me. They're trying to put themselves above me. And when somebody shares their emotion with me, I identify with that and then I become more interested in their speech. Big number 2. For most speakers that don't realize it, that all your audience wants to know is what is in it for me. You want to hold an audience attention, you give them something they're interested in. Otherwise, you're just up there moving your lips and they can't associate anything with you. They can't associate a feeling. They can't associate anything. Number 1, this is a little hidden secret. This little hidden secret goes like this. When, where, what, and who. If you start your speech and include those things, you will bring your audience into the speech with you. Rather than saying, oh, 4 years ago we went. Instead, you're saying 4 years ago when we were in the heat in the desert at the Boy Scout camp and we were going down this dusty trail. That brings the audience in with you. What, where, when, where, what, and who. So this would be part B, or the body of your speech. And then the final part of your speech, which is the easiest if you've done it the way I've explained to you. If you've done your speech the backwards way, which is the only way to do it, you get to the first part, which is the hook, the hook of the speech, the intro. My speech is sort of a palindrome because I hit you with the actual closing to my speech when I said, are you going to try to use your story? Are you going to try and do a speech backwards? I could also have started this speech that way by saying that same thing, or I could say, do you have difficulty composing a speech? What would you think about doing it backwards? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I loved the eyes on the back of your head. That reminds me that those are things that my mom used to tell me. I have eyes on the back of my head. So that means as a speaker, you can see us coming and you can see us going. We have another speaker. And this speaker is Rebecca Seymour. And Rebecca is speaking on something that she just didn't want us to know about tonight. But that's the way a backwards meeting goes. You may not always know what's going to happen, but it's going to happen. Rebecca, give us your words of wisdom.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and guests. I had made it to my level 5 speech and I was going through, and one of the speeches was about leadership and how to find the different attributes of what makes a great leader and how to build up those other members to try and move them from just being in the member group to being in the leader group, like Stacci and Curt are looking for all the time. One of the things that they look for is the importance of building trust and respect, retaining the member group, who is just normal members in our group, in a club, in a volunteer organization, and the leader group, which is made up of the district leaders, the area, which includes the district trio, along with the division directors and area directors, and even works its way down to the club leaders, to the club officers. But if you're looking at just the district as a whole, almost all of us are just part of the member group, with the leader group, working to build us up into those leader roles. There's several different aspects that make up, or attributes that make up these great leaders. One of them is charisma. This is more of a natural attribute. And while some may possess a lot of charisma, and some others may not possess that much charisma, but it is possible to try and increase your approachability and enthusiasm in a leadership role. Another attribute is the contribution, where people contribute because they have a desire to be a part of something larger than themselves. They wanted to be a part of the larger group and maybe move to a higher level, like Stacci was as district director. Or even Don Biddick, who is now one of our who at one point was a regional director. I think he even may still be, or if he came out of office during the last international conference. I like being able to contribute, especially when we go to these international conferences, because I get to contribute to helping people to find their way around the different hotels, finding out where to go. I'm especially looking forward to my contribution that I might be able to provide when the Toastmaster International Convention comes to Nashville, because we know so much about Nashville. I'm looking forward to it and can't wait to find out exactly where it's going to be held. Another attribute of a great leader is respect. When members feel respected by their leaders, they're more likely to go to that higher level and follow and the leaders who are providing them with that training that they might like, that role model figure. But courage is also an attribute. Not very many people think that of courage as a great attribute in a leader. But sometimes courage is very important, because with courage, a leader is able to act responsibly, even if doing so isn't very popular, and it may open that leader up for criticism. But they had that courage to stand up and do what they knew was right, even if it wasn't a popular option. And also success. Successful members tend to become successful leaders. And a generous amount of recognition helps reward current successes and encourages future accomplishments. Just such as Bert Copeland, who has done he's completed at least one DTM, and he's completed at least, I believe, one path, and he just finished level 2 of his motivational strategies path. He's working towards completing another one. And if the leader is competent in her skills, another important factor is integrity. If the leader is competent in her skills but lacks integrity, members will not see her as trustworthy. But at the same time, a leader with a high level of integrity but a lack of competence or skills will be viewed with an equal amount of distrust. So you need to have both your integrity and be able to build up your skills to be able to do both. So that way you'll be seen as a better leader and not be distrusted by other members. One of the things that was asked is what skills and attributes are most important when leading in a volunteer organization? I think they're all very important. Because if you have just one or two and not very much of another, then then you need somebody else in that leadership area that maybe can step up and help with those other attributes. You may not be able to have all of them yourself, but if you're able to build the right leadership team that has a little bit of all of them, you'll be able to make a great team. It is also important to recognize and reward your volunteers. If you don't recognize them for their contributions of what they have done, they may stop contributing. Because sometimes they like to be recognized. At work, we have this thing called the Values Awards. And a lot of our managers across the whole hotel and our different properties the Wild Horse Saloon have recognized several of their employees. Even the kitchen manager has recognized her staff. But in my restaurant, nobody's ever been recognized. I've made sure I brought that up during our meeting today at my training when they were asking what's something that the management can do in leadership. And that was to better recognize their members or their employees and the contributions that they bring. Because if you recognize them, they're likely to go above and beyond again. Or if they see somebody else that's recognized, they're like, I want that. So I'm going to go above and beyond because I want to be recognized too. So what is the value of showing integrity, competency, and character in decisions, leadership, and actions? It has great value, and it can help to build the next best team. in leadership in District 63 and in Toastmasters International. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. I believe I said there would be words of wisdom, and there were. Enjoyed the speech. Thank you. Leaders sometimes are not born. Leaders have to sometimes, most times, to be a good leader, have to work at it. And I think you explained to us some of the different areas that would make a manager successful. With this speech, Rebecca completed her level 5 elective. We need to congratulate her for that. There's a lot of speeches there and a lot of research there to complete that. Thank you, Rebecca. And congratulations. The next area for us to ponder upon is much lighter. Since Dewey has his cosmic pacifier behind him, we will let him give us the word of the day and some lighthearted humor. Dewey, are you ready?
Taking it away. A woman in labor shouted, shouldn't, couldn't, wouldn't, didn't, can't. Doctor said, don't worry, it's just contractions. One person, two people got it. Bert's blanked out. Bear walks into the bar and says, give me a whiskey and cola. Bartender said, why the big pause? The bear says, I have no idea. I was born with them. Did you hear about the actor who fell through the floorboards? He was just going through a stage. Oh, that one even got me. As everyone has probably heard 1,000 times today, today's word is palindrome. That's whenever a word, sentence, phrase, whatever's the same in both directions. Kind of like, wow, noon, deed, refer, radar, kayak, madam. Or how about borrow, not rob? Write it down, it amazed me too. Too hot to hoot. Stressed desserts. I had to sit there and make my lips move reading that one. Was it a cat I saw? Exactly the same, both directions. No lemon, no melon. I surrender. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dewey. I had to think about some of those. Even though my brain was on backwards. However, when I think of palindrome, I think of today's date, 2/22/22. Now, what would have even been absolutely special would have been the time early this morning at 2/22/22 ongoing. With our next item on our agenda, we cannot forget our country's flag, and we cannot remember or fail to remember that there is inspiration in every day. Bert will bring those to us and will ask us for the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag. Bert?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'm going to share a few words with you, since Mr. Tom isn't here. You get me? Inspiration. This is from A Course in Miracles. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see only my thoughts, and my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? Let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from drawing on my mind. Let me understand that I am trying to use time against God. Let me learn to give the past away, realize that in so doing, I am giving up nothing. And then Eckhart Tolle said this: nothing ever happened in the past that can prevent you from being present now. And if the past can't prevent you from being present now, what power does it have? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bert. We will now return to you for our online protocol. And being that this was a backwards meeting, I hope we didn't fail you too badly with the protocols for our meeting tonight. Take it away, Bert.
I think we have a really good memory that we did really excellent today. We kept our mics muted when we weren't speaking. We pretty much stayed in the vision, except for some people that backed out of the vision a little bit. We used our jazz hands to clap so people could see us clapping. So I think we did a pretty good job on our online protocol. So I'm going to give it back to you, Miss Toastmaster. Hello. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We take any role. We just call us. We don't mind. Wow. What a wonderful meeting. And with a wonderful meeting comes wonderful closings. A great meeting. If anyone has anything for the good of the club or any announcements, anything that we need to know about, Stacci, Curt, we thank you all. Where'd Curt go?
I'm right here.
And I thought so. There you are. We thank you all for being a part of a meeting. And if you've never attended a backwards meeting or conducted a backwards meeting, tell us what you thought.
Once I got over being confused, it was kind of fun. And I'm easily confused, so it didn't take long. But after people started to mesh, it did make a lot of sense to me, and I really enjoyed it. One of the things that I really enjoyed was Rebecca's speech. I don't care forward or backward. That was just tremendous. I really appreciated that. Made the whole meeting, as far as I'm concerned. Well, no, maybe the jokes. I don't know. But thank you for letting me attend. And I do have a technical question. Is it protocol to leave your mics off in the meeting when you're not speaking? Okay, I have
Generally, yes.
I have clubs that want everybody to leave their mics on so that the people can get an audience reaction. So I was just wondering. It was new to me. And
I think it can be on club culture of what they're used to. However, Bert has comment on that too.
Bert is going to speak.
It's important that if I'm recording that I have everybody's mic off, because if somebody coughs, and this happens in church when I go to church, because you got one lady there with COPD and I'm trying to listen to somebody and she's coughing and she keeps dragging it away from the person. So you can imagine if I'm trying to tape a meeting and people are like, one day I forgot to turn my mic off and people were texting me because I was on my keyboard. They could hear me on my keyboard.
Yeah, you can hear your
and
keyboard.
It is distracting to the speaker. So you can get a reaction without having a mic on. So that's my 5 cents worth.
Just new.
Yeah, and if you have a club, this is good discussion. I like this, Curt. If you have a group that has normally kept their mics on, and then you've gone through the meeting like that for the reaction, it could be a good exercise for a meeting for the mics to stay off and then learn different techniques, facial expression, jazz hands, have them do a meeting that way, and it kind of stretches out their ability to be able to show emotion and reactions in different ways, because we can't always talk even when we're sitting in meetings if we're in person. So to be reactive to a speaker or a presenter, we compensate and cope that way with different types of reactions. So have them try that sometime. That might be
That's a good
fun.
idea. Thank you.
And Stacci, are you going to share anything with us?
Actually, I want to thank you first, Bert, for inviting me. This was absolutely awesome. It's the first backwards meeting I've ever been to. I've heard a lot about them, but I've never been to one. So this was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I love that you guys got into it by switching your names around, and Bert by dressing backwards. That I am like Dewey. I have to know how you got that shirt on. Did somebody help you tie that tie on the back? That was fabulous. I love the idea, and I think I'm going to take this back to my home club and see if they won't do a backwards meeting and see how fun that is, because it is a lot of fun. You have to change your brain around and get really creative. Yeah, you can't just do the same thing that you're so used to doing every single time.